Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. So my plans for today are to plant that heliotrope that I meant to plant yesterday, but instead got completely distracted with a toad pond, or I guess you could call it a wildlife pond. I don't know. I'm glad I did it. I had fun yesterday playing around with it, but it was one of those projects that I had no plans for to do around this time, but I really like it. I wanted to show you guys, it's been a day since I installed it, and I wanted to show you guys an updated look because when I filled it up, it got really murky, and now it's all settled. It looks nice and clear and beautiful. So here it is right behind my office. I think it's looking really good, and here's what it looked like yesterday right when I filled it up. It was pretty murky, and now it's definitely cleared up a little bit, and I think it looks really good, and it makes me think I got to put more like rocks and stuff in it to make it look a little bit more natural. And I do still have to cover up the parts that you can see the black trough. I just used a black rubber trough, normally used for like feeding horses or watering horses or something like that. I was just looking for a watertight container that I could sink into the ground, and so I just thought this was perfect. So I'm happy to see that it definitely cleared up. A lot of you suggested me getting one of those solar fountains, and I think I'm definitely going to try that. I think that would be fun to try. And then a lot of people had questions on how I'm going to deal with mosquitoes with the standing water, mosquito eggs and stuff like this. And I mentioned it in my video yesterday, but it was really quick, so I'm sure it was really easy to miss. I am going to be getting mosquito fish to put in here, and mosquito fish are little fish that eat mosquito eggs or mosquito larvae, and you put them in ponds and things like this, and it's supposed to really help with the mosquito population. So I've seen them at garden centers. They're actually for free because they actually want to keep the mosquito population down. So I'm going to try and get my hands on some of those. And if I can't get my hands on some of those, I'll just use those BT dunks. They're little discs of BT that you can drop into a pond or something like that. But I really want to get my hands on the mosquito fish. I think that would be fun. And then while I'm back here by the chicken coop, just a little update on the girls. So basically I came out late last night when it was dark because I wanted to see if I could see any toads around the pond. I didn't see any yet. But then I came to check on the chickens, and I could not find Maud and Eloise. I saw Princess Fluffybutt in the coop sleeping, but I could not find the two new ones. I could not find them anywhere, and I was getting really, really scared. And then I heard a little something, and they were on top of the coop. I mean, I was like, what are you guys doing there? It was probably 10 o'clock at night. And then I looked up, warning, this is gross, right? Look at this. I think they've been sleeping up there every single night since we got them. And so I don't know if Princess Fluffybutt kicked them out of the coop or, was territorial or something like that, but I took both of them, I put them in the coop, and I closed the door. Normally we leave the door open because the coop is in this chicken run, so they're totally safe. But I actually closed the door. Are you talking? You want some treats, huh? I actually closed the door and then came out this morning and let them out. And I just thought that was so funny because I thought we lost them. I didn't know where, I literally could not find them, of course, because it was dark out here and they were sitting up there. I wish I got a picture of it or something. It was hilarious. It was scary at first, but it was hilarious. Okay, I got my tools. Let's head to the front garden where I'm going to be planting the heliotrope. And then I have a couple other things I want to show you guys that we've been working on as well. So I'm going to be planting the heliotrope in these 3 white pots I have here in front of my zigzag planter. And I actually planted this heliotrope, Fragrant Delight, in these pots last year and loved it. It was absolutely amazing. It smelled so good all season long. I love the plant so much. Now, Heliotrope Fragrant Delight, which is the one I have, is hardy. It says hardy zones 9 through 11, but I have to be honest, it's like a borderline 9 because I have definitely planted heliotrope out in the garden and it succumbed to winter kill. I've planted it in a more protected area before and it has overwintered. It's just so border here where I live in zone 9B. But it's worth a shot. So since I planted heliotrope in these 3 pots last year, I actually left them in to overwinter and was waiting to see if they were going to come back. And maybe like 1 or 2 out of the 5 I planted in each pot came back, and I decided just to start over. I needed to replenish the soil anyway. So I actually pulled them out and I put some new fresh soil in, and they're all ready to go. They're looking good. And then over here is where all my heliotrope is. And I'm so happy I got my hands on these because it's actually kind of difficult to find heliotrope, at least around here. This was at my local garden center, Green Acres. I was so happy they asked me to be on their podcast, and as a thank you, they gave me a gift card. And so while I was there, I caught these out of the corner of my eye and ran after I was done with the podcast and grabbed all of these. So if you go to the Elk Grove Green Acres, they might not have these back in stock yet, just to warn you guys. So anyway, like I was saying, they're zones 9 through 11 technically, but just be careful about if you live in zone 9. They are 12 to 18 inches tall. I've kind of found, oh yes, Monty has a stick he wants to show all of you. I've kind of noticed that they definitely get to the higher end of the 12 to 18 inches, closer to 18 inches tall and wide, full sun, part shade. I've planted them in both, and I find that they do better in full sun for me. So full sun, they get big, and I cannot guarantee that they're going to overwinter. They probably need a little bit more protection than I'm giving them, like mulched up or something like that, but I've never actually done that. I do want to say that this plant is toxic to dogs. So if you have a dog that likes to eat your plants, I wouldn't recommend planting heliotrope in your garden. If you have a plant that just likes, or not a plant, if you have a dog that just likes to chew on sticks like my dog and he completely ignores plants, thank goodness, then you should be fine. And my last dog that I had before, Monty, he was the same way. I planted heliotrope around him and he was fine. But just be forewarned, it is toxic to dogs, so just know that. So anyways, I am going to be planting these in the big white pots today. I did want to show you guys one more thing. So I actually didn't get this on camera because it was one of those days that it was like about to rain and I wasn't even bothering filming, but we were able to get out here and get some work done. And one of the things we did is transplanted our rising sun redbud right here. So it used to be right here where this new cedar is, and there's actually another one right there if you can see it. It's just coming out of dormancy. It's starting to get some beautiful, beautiful buds on it, which is really fun. But when you're sitting on the gazebo and you're sitting in the rocking chairs, it was right where that green wave cedar was. And I figured this plant is going to, or this tree is going to get 8 to 12 feet tall and wide, and that would just completely block the whole view. So I knew I needed to move it, and I needed to move it fast before it really totally broke dormancy. So we were able to move it just over here, and I think that that's a good spot for it. And then in its place, I ended up planting, like I said, this green wave cedar from Isley. And this is the coolest, most beautiful plant. It gets 8 feet wide and 4 feet tall, and it is just like the most interesting structural plant. I'm so excited that Isley was able to send this to me. I asked for it and they were able to find a pretty mature specimen. I'm just totally in love with it. It does take full sun. It is a somewhat slow grower with just 3 to 6 inches per year, so I'm going to have to be patient. There's the stats for that. And then there is a mature one. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? So I thought it would be really pretty to have that kind of, okay, so my rock, my dry creek bed is going to extend up this way and go around that way. And so I want this to kind of be hanging over my dry creek bed. So you just have to kind of imagine that. And then we're going to have the boulder fountains back here as well. So just kind of imagine it. I think that that will be really pretty on the edge of the dry creek bed as it's coming up the berm to get to the gazebo. I just think it's going to be really pretty there. And then, so that kind of mimics, because it's a cedar, it kind of mimics my weeping atlas cedar that I have over here. And I just thought perfect. It's just the perfect space for it. So I'm really excited to have that planted. I hope it takes, and I hope it starts growing very quickly, because I think it's going to be definitely a showstopper right there. I have a couple other conifers from Isley that I'm planning to plant kind of over on this side. So I'm, working on that, but we have a couple things that we have to do around the gazebo first, but it's definitely coming along. All right, enough show and tell. Let's get to planting before I run out of time. It's early release this week. It's the week before spring break for the girls, so it's early release this week. So I don't have as much time as I normally do, but that's all right. Let's see. I am going to be using the Proven Winners slow release plant food for each heliotrope that I plant. I did want to use this and a starter fertilizer like Sure Start, but I'm actually completely out of starter fertilizer. And now I think back and I think, man, I probably should have used that gift card to buy starter fertilizer, but flowers, right? The important things. I do, let's see, last year I planted 5 heliotrope per pot, and I have less this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 12, so 4 for each pot this year, which I think is going to be totally fine. I think 5 was a little bit of overkill, but I do like to stuff my pots. So let's get going. Okay, heliotrope is all planted and I watered them in, and I did a little extra watering of the zigzag planter just because these plants aren't completely rooted in yet, and I wanted to make sure they were definitely getting a good drink. I do have to say, I need to repaint these pots so bad. I didn't really notice how bad it was until I was planting here, and I don't know, in my mind I thought I could push it off another year. But yeah, that looks really bad. I was kind of going back and forth between repainting them white or planting them like a terracotta color to match those pots back there. And yeah, I'm thinking about it, but I think when I take these out, or maybe in the fall, I'll take these out and then completely rinse out the whole pots and give them a good painting. I think it's probably been 4 or 5 years, so it definitely needs it. And it went through a move, so it definitely needs it. So I still have some more time, and I think what I want to do is I want to get this plant planted. This plant I got on the same day that I got the heliotrope at Green Acres. Somebody gifted this to me. It's in the wrong pot. This is Myoporum pot, which I would love to have some Myoporum in my garden. This is actually a variegated Echium, and I have 2 other Echiums in my garden. I had more than that, but I planted Echium Tower of Jewels right underneath my walnut tree, and they definitely succumbed to the chemicals, the jugalone in the walnut tree. Oh, I forgot to put my hose back after the day it was raining. Hold on. Okay, so I planted the 2 Echium Tower of Jewels on either side of this euphorbia that is blooming right now. Isn't that beautiful? But it is right underneath this black walnut tree. And I think the black walnut, I think it just couldn't handle the black walnut basically because they died pretty quickly. But if you come over this way to this part of my garden, I have two Echiums back here. I have this one that looks like two plants. This is called Echium Blue Steeple, and it has a beautiful blue bloom stalk. That's what's really interesting about Echiums is their bloom stalks. They're so interesting. This looks like two plants, but it's actually one plant. Look at that. Look at it. It's like leaning over right there. Isn't that, it's just the weirdest thing. And then I did want to point this out. This is a really good example of why you need to loosen up the roots before you plant something. You can see that I did not loosen up the roots to this, and it is so root bound right now. The roots are just circling around each other. So this is just a biennial, so, you know, I think it'll be fine. It was growing last year. It should bloom this year, and then it should die. So I think it'll be fine, but that's a good reminder to us all to definitely make sure that your roots are not root bound. Then the other Echium I have is over here. This beautiful specimen right here. This guy is called Pride of Madeira. It is an Echium as well, and it has a whole bunch of blue bloom stalks. I think it'll be really pretty. I've been just impatiently waiting for this thing to bloom. So anyway, I've got these two Echiums over here. I obviously don't want to plant over by my black walnut tree. This one, I don't know the name of this, but I was looking it up, and they do have a Star of Madeira. So that is Pride of Madeira. They have a Star of Madeira that is the variegated version of that, and I wonder if that's what this one is. It kind of looks like it. I think it could probably pass for that. So anyway, I am going to plant this somewhere. I'm thinking over by the gazebo because it can handle full sun to part sun. It needs a lot of room. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of a good place for it right here. So, and it's nice open soil. So I think it would be really easy to plant it maybe just right here. You know, I'm thinking about it. I think that's where I want to plant one of my conifers from Isley. So I might move it right over here. And then you know what? I should probably just plant the conifer now while I have time. planted, which wasn't even on my plan for today. So I'm pretty happy I got them in the ground after I got the heliotrope all planted. So this one right here from Isley, this is called Chandler's Monterey Cypress. And I saw this at the display gardens and just thought it was absolutely beautiful. Look at the structure of that plant. Isn't that beautifully gorgeous? So this one will get up to, in 10 years, it'll get 25 feet high and 12 feet wide. So I'm probably like 4 feet into away from the gazebo. So in 10 years, a couple of the branches will reach over the gazebo about 2 feet, which I'm totally fine with. I think it'll be really pretty like that. So this is a full sun plant, and it does grow 15 inches per year, which is pretty good as compared to the ginkgo that I have here, which I'm really excited. This is my first ginkgo ever. I love ginkgos because they have this amazing yellow fall foliage. I just love it. This is the American variety. It's a smaller one. It's globe shaped. It gets about 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide. It can take full sun, but you can see this one only grows 3 to 6 inches per year. So it's only going to hit 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide at about the 10-year mark. That's when you're looking at Isley tags. That's what the indication is for the size, because this plant will just keep growing and growing and growing and growing its whole life. And so there's no way to tell exactly how tall it'll get in 100 years, but in 10 years, they estimate it'll probably be about 25 feet tall. And so that's how you can kind of estimate where your garden's going to be at in 10 years. Then I have this Echium over here, this variegated Echium that I don't know the name of. I don't know how big it's going to get, but my best guess is it's the Star of Madeira that does get about 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide. So plenty of room for it to grow this year. I'm interested to see how it's going to do in this hot spit. Like, this is all sun. It doesn't get any shade at all. So I'll be interested to see how it can handle it, because the only Echiums that I've seen growing around in California were in Fanula's garden from Cottage Gardens of Petaluma, and she did have a little bit of shade in her garden. She probably had like part sun to part shade in a lot of places. So I'm just interested to see how it's gonna go. I mean, I got that for free. It's just a fun plant to play around with. But if any of you have a better idea of what variety that could be, the variegated Echium, please let me know. So I wasn't planning on planting around the gazebo just yet, because actually we have the contractor that needs to come, and he needs to install flashing on the edges of the gazebo deck. You can see where the nail holes are. He's going to put some wood there to kind of cover it up and make it look nice. And then I've already told you guys this, but I do need to move away the dirt, the soil from the sides of the gazebo, and install this roofing paper to protect the wood of the deck from the moist soil, and the moist soil basically rotting it out over time. So I've been kind of holding back on really planting around here because I wanted to get that done first, but I figure these two, I mean, I can fit in right there, right? But I really do need to get that done because I don't want to plant all around and then have a hard time installing it. So anyway, this is coming along. I'm getting really excited because, like, every little thing I add to this gazebo area, it just looks better and better. It is such a fabulous addition to my garden. All right, well, I gotta go. My alarm that's telling me it's time to go clean up and get ready to go pick up the girls is going off. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.